So somebody asked me to recount the trench system or battle that Joel Stremski of Melbourne, Australia, passed away in. He fell in with chosen company. I'll first to say I was not there for that fight. However, let's talk more about what I know about him because I was there for the majority of the time, or almost, all until the last moments where he went out to fight. And I was there with him more in the rear than I was forward deployed, so to speak. And let's keep this civil, guys. I know everybody in Chosen Company, we all have a sort of ongoing feud, but this is, you know, for a friend of Joel Strumsky, whom I don't know, but I will try to recount his days in Ukraine and what I heard from survivors of that assault that was approximately on the 13th of October 2023 in Pervomaiske, now occupied by Russia, in Donetsk Oblast. Correct me if I'm wrong. So I met Joel in Ternopil. He had arrived at the recruiting station, and it was me and Sandberg, and we all started hanging out together and going through the process. Uh, and we all knew we were going to Chosen. Me and Sandberg actually had connected prior to the like prior to you know arriving because we met in the group chat for Chosen Company, and so I immediately knew who Sandberg was. I'm not trying to get into any fights here. I'm just recounting the story. So we had all met up. Then we met Joel because he was going to Chosen, and we went through the in-processing process. But me and Joel kind of stuck together more so than anybody else. I was actually in really good shape at this point, at least muscular wise. Skeletal system still and was shit, but that's another story. So we would work out together, and I had these pretty good workouts as I had just come off contract with Phuket Fight Club as one of their heavyweight contenders for MMA. Although I was too damaged to even be, I shouldn't even gone to that tryout, but that's another story. Anyways, so yeah, me and Joel hit it off. We both like combat sports. We're both going to Chosen Company. Both like motorcycles, fast cars, whiskey, and good food. So we started working out together, and Joel was an outstanding athlete. Could push really hard. Could see the just athleticism in him. And he started, he asked me a lot of questions about private military contracting and my service, and we just bonded very quickly because we had shared interests. Um, and through the course of training, he spotted me some money to get more gear because he knew I was getting paid, and then I paid it off when I got paid, anyways. And then we went looking for optics. He couldn't find the optic that he wanted. So I gave him the EOTech. I said, until you see what we get when we get a Chosen Company, I'm not going to need it. I'm a drone operator. Anyways. And so we left Ternopil. He really liked Ukraine, just in terms of he thought it was a pretty country. It was nice. We left Ternopil for Dnipro by train. I think it was probably his first train ride, if I can't recall. And it was like a Soviet style sleeper train. Uh, I remember him punching me when I was snoring too loud, which I slept poorly on trains, among many other things at this point. And we arrived at Chosen Company. He was excited. I wasn't really. I had doubts before. People had tried to talk me out of going to Chosen, but I was becoming. Me and Joel just hit it off like super hard. So we arrive at Nipro and meet my friend Maria, and he was basically my wingman for like 3 dates. That ended up me just being further into the friend zone. Uh, but we went out, we drank, we ate, we rented this quote VIP suite that ended up being sort of this very subpar Airbnb or Booking.com apartment. We procured gear together uh, a lot. We spent a lot of time procuring gear, adjusting each other's gear, setting up each other's gear, and giving commentary and feedback. We worked excellently as a team together. Just further, it was just synchronicity on everything. So I was very excited to work with him. So we had a great time in Nipro, and he got hit on by my friend's mom, who's like 58. But yeah, anyways, I took him out to some classy joints. We had some fun time. And then it was time to go to Chosen Company. We met up with Sandberg at the bus station where we missed the first bus due to miscommunication. And we got on the bus to Chosen Company and we arrived in Pokrovsk, which was 40 plus kilometers from the front line at this point, maybe 50, I don't know. And now it's 8 kilometers from the front line. It is the front, like, it's well within artillery range. So that's how much things have changed. So I'm guessing probably this is around maybe the 10th of October 2023. And we arrived at Chosen Company. My internal thoughts were, man, do I want to go there? We met Swede, who also died. It seemed like he was an outstanding soldier. I had wanted to leave, but Joel seemed really happy. Um, I had gotten a lot of messages from guys saying that the likelihood of you coming out of this ordeal with them without getting banged up or dying is, it's a very dangerous and hot, active situation that they were involved in, so to speak, and that they may have not been forthcoming with their casualty numbers with us, which is fine. It's OPSEC. So we arrived there, and it was just like this big building. And luckily enough, we met everybody, and then Joel and I got assigned into the same squad along with Sandberg. At this point, I was just like, man, like I was almost nauseated about being there. It was also a reality. You're back to war again, and it was a very different feel that time. Very different from last, and when I was in the Legion or Norman Brigade, how things were set up. Each of them were different too. And at some point, excuse me, sorry, I got a burp. Some point, Ryan O'Leary stated that there was going to be 80,000 Russians and that we needed to be prepared to man trenches. You know, we were promised by the recruiter, like, we're just going to be running in with Humvees, guns blazing, doing assaults. We're not there to stick around. And the first thing I hear after they did an op 2 days before was that we're gonna man trenches, and they lost a guy, Swede, RIP, on that op. So now I'm like, okay, man, manning trenches is something I've already done and was not interested in doing. I wanted to fly drones. The whole purpose of me was to get into a drone position with my certifications and experience. And the idea of manning a trench in a place I didn't know with guys I never worked with was horrifying for me. But for Joel, it was fucking awesome. It's exactly what he wanted to do. Go and shoot and soldier. He had no reservations. So when that order came up, I was like, oh, I don't know if I'm going to do this. And then I just said, no, I'm not. I want to leave. So I told Joel, like, man, I plan on leaving, and I don't even know if I don't know what I'm gonna do. But here's some gear that you could use. I just started giving him gear as he's ready to go out. Me and Joel had this sort of friendship where it yeah, it hit off the bat fast, but when you have a real friend, you start not you don't keep tallies of who owes what. It's just a matter of just yeah, I got this one, okay, I got that, I got this. Especially when it comes to wartime and you both are flush with cash. You don't really think about tick for tack about money, and it was also a sign of our friendship and trust that we freely exchanged money. So he went out once, but it ended up like being just a staging. And then around the 13th, he actually went out. And he tapped me in my sleeve, check your phone. I just slept through it. I woke up on the 13th and there was $600 deposited with like a note saying like, best of luck at your next place. Um, And I wish I still had those text messages, but that phone is. I deleted a lot of stuff off that phone, because it's just bad memories, really, to be honest. Why? Who wants to keep all these bad reminders around? And the phone also is dead as well. It's in the repair shop. I ended up jumping into the water in the Philippines trying to snorkel with whale sharks. I forgot that I had a phone on me. But anyways, he goes out. From what I heard from recounts from Zeus and Sandberg and maybe one other guy, I don't know, I can't even remember at this point. They were at the zero line, and maybe a battalion-sized element came at them with BMPs, at least BMPs. After obviously the typical FPV and artillery and mortars. And as soon as the BMPs started unloading, they had checkpoint names for this. If the guys want to comment and chosen, if you want to keep it civil, by all means, I'm not going to stop anyone. Um, just from getting this historical perspective, someone asked me to do this. So yeah, they were at the zero line, and there were like several other points behind, or defensive points. I don't know how they were interlinked, but I was told by several people that Joel was an A-class warrior, a fucking machine, and that he went through mag after mag. He was just lobbing grenades. I heard something around 20 grenades that he threw at Russian forces, whether they were Donetsk People's Republic or Russian forces proper. I have a, I think they were actually from the 15th Brigade or Battalion of the DNR, which they were foreigners, a lot of Nepalese and other nationalities. But anyways, they piled out of the BMPs and like morons and just ran into Joel's fire and grenades. And he kept going, he kept going. Apparently, yeah, he asked somebody for more grenades and he kept throwing. And I guess there was a lot of other people that were just timid at this point, which is totally understandable. And so they were just handing him the grenades and the mags and he kept firing. Another account was told that he went to go pick up um, an RPK or what was those long mag, yeah, AK pattern, like almost like a light machine gun, something like that. Yeah, an RPK or whatever, and lay down suppressive fire of somebody who had dropped the weapon, and he kept going. The trench, apparently, from what I heard, was about to be overrun or was being overrun at that point. There's a lot of confusion in battle for sure. So the clarity of the situation is hard to tell because he's not alive. And also, people, getting their first contact aren't always reliable witnesses to tell stories, but it was definitely intense from my understanding. And they got an order to retreat. At some point, Joel was hit by a mortar but wasn't killed. He was maybe concussed, and he retreated somewhere along an area to the side of the trench line or something like that. From I'm just if I'm not doing this right, somebody can comment. And they said that once they retreated to safety, or at least to a point of relative safety, Joel said, "I'm going back in to lay down fire." I don't know if it was from at the zero line where it was completely overrun, or if it was like maybe the trench had come in down there and there was another point. I don't know exactly. Not most people don't know the exact story because they weren't with him. But he basically went in and last stand at a trench filled with Russians or DNR, Deep Donetsk People's Republic forces, and got into some gunfights with them, and managed to hold off the horde so more people could retreat. The trench was inevitably overrun. Joel likely either succumbed quickly to gunshot wounds or intense artillery barrage. The area where he was hit pretty hard with thermobaric bombs. So, I don't mean to be the bearer of bad news if this is his family, but, someday maybe an archaeological expedition could find his body. But that land was kind of no man's land for several months. And then it was occupied by the Russians, or almost. It was maybe like gray zone area, then slowly taken by Russians at some point. The Russians have well occupied that area by now. If you look at deep state maps, they're well past Pervomaiske. And that's the area of where the front is collapsing at this point, or seemingly collapsing, near Pokrovsk. So, if anybody wants to comment about what happened to Joel, even if I dislike you, I won't stop you. Just let's not make this some sort of debate between our quarrels. Joel was an outstanding guy. I spent the last, 10 days or so of his life with him almost all the time. We He was the type of guy that sent me $600 just so I could go on. Like I had maybe given him a very little amounts in gear, some pouches and shit, so he could go on. And you know, unlike this narrative that someone said I stole his optic. We're not going to get into that, but Joel, Joel and I had a very good relationship. Things were just freely exchanged at this point. He was very knowledgeable about soldiering. You know, I had done some infantry work via the Norman Brigade, but it was not really that much, 3 weeks a month. And I still had a lot to learn. My occupational specialty in the U.S. Army was military police. And I had become familiarized with drones and then gone to drone school. So I wasn't the most expert, commentator on infantry stuff. And Joel tried to get me up to speed, he taught me new things. We shared many good drinks together, knew good whiskey, knew good food. His parents who raised him should be proud. He died doing exactly what he wanted to do. It was fate. The man went out, picked a fight with the Russian army, and for a kill to death ratio, it's probably 20 to 1, maybe 25 to 1. So he definitely murked a lot of guys, according to several people. And me and him had these discussions about why we were there or whatever. And I was like, man, he's like, I always get into fights with my sister about this. I was like, man, you gotta just, death is inevitable. And if you die in your 20s, and it's for something you believe in, for something you want, something that you're dreaming of doing, you die in sort of the purest sense of yourself, like the purest image of who you are. You know, if later on you grow older, you don't get this sort of, I don't know, vigor and sense of life towards everything that you do, maybe unless you have a kid, I don't know. And he was just full of life and devotion to what he wanted to do. And he died living his dream. Not a lot of people have that luck. As tragic as it sounds, him dying at 21, 22, sorry if I forget his age exactly. Yeah, him dying, yeah, he died doing what he wanted to do. Most people don't have that opportunity. People die of all sorts of things, grow old, grow sick. He died in perfect health, doing exactly what he wanted, last standing a trench and taking out guys. So the dude's a fucking legend, man. The friends and family that are listening to this, aside from the, you know, controversial nature that I stand with Chosen Company, we can all just kind of lay down our squabbles here. Just admire the guy because it's coming up the anniversary of his death, and if this makes it to his family, you know, I admire your son a lot. He's a good friend of mine. Um, I do have a bit of survivor skill. Had it gone out in that op, and I think I would have prioritized his survival, but I didn't. So I have to live with that. But it was fate, anyways. You can't change fate. He was destined for this, I think. I know people don't maybe not believe in fate or destiny, but the guy engineered every single possibility to get into a fight with the Russian army, and in the offering of retreat, in which he could have done, he chose to go out guns blazing. I'm not saying he was suicidal, but it was just a matter of fate. It was anything but suicidal. He loved life and living, and through that living was soldiering. So I hope that with time that passes, for his family, that they can look back and realize that their son just was doing what he wanted to do to the very end and happy about it. All reports I got about Joel were that he died the man that he wanted to be. Whereas I will die a man dreaming of things I've didn't accomplish or whatever, as most do, I think. You know, he got to die pure, young, doing what he wanted to do. His friends have since contacted me, and it's been really nice to meet you guys online. Uh, Perhaps sometime we could see each other in Australia. Maybe a memorial at some point. I can't do it this year. I'm actually doing it. This is being recorded from rehab, uh, so it is what it is. I'm sure Joel would be like, "You fucking probably have a mouthful," for being in rehab, but it's okay. I'm not gonna quit. I'm just trying to get mental health stuff taken care of. And Joel respected my choice of leaving Chosen Company, but when Joel died, my reaction changed dramatically. Seeing the dire need that a chosen company needed people around, I decided to stick around and do the best I could. I think for 3 days after, I just was just kind of in shock, wandering. Like this bright young soul was here with us, and then gone after that. But I decided to stay because I wanted revenge and I wanted to fill the gap where I could. So I hung around until it was time for me to go. I ended up being called out on QRF missions, which never amounted to much. And Joel will always be ingrained in my soul. It was hard on me. I can only imagine for his family. But yeah, I wish I could do some cool tactical map, but you have to look at Pervomaiske on Deep State, and then you can kind of get an idea of what the terrain that he was fighting. But if you look on the Chosen Company's the stuff that was posted about on the International Legion's two videos about Chosen Company, I'm pretty sure that had nothing to do with the battle they were there, but that was the area that they were fighting. If you want to imagine what it was like, the terrain that he fought in. But yeah, outstanding dude. Wish he was still around. Definitely regret how things turned out after. It's unfortunate for sure. It wasn't my intention to go to Ukraine and then all that stuff that happened after. But I tried my best, at least. And I think Joel would respect that. But yeah, anything else after that is a bit more heated discussion. The only offer that I could put out is like, if any Joel's family, friends, or whatever end up in Phuket, if I'm probably not going to be there, but they want advice about travel or they want people to meet up with. I have plenty of friends there. They want to train. I'll hook them up with the best training possible. You guys can find me on Instagram at Benjamin underscore based, and just hit me up there for questions. I really hope that his family has, you know, recovered from the loss of his son. I know it's easier said, but he definitely died doing what he wanted to do. And there was just such a pure sense of fire in him. It belonged on the battlefield. You know. We had made a lot of plans for after Chosen Company, but his fate was met there, then and there, and it's over. It's pretty shitty about what the Australian Army did to him. I remember him telling me about that. Sorry if this isn't like some super interesting video, but it's just me recounting the death of a friend. So if I have any additional memories about the situation, I'll put it in the comments. I hope this video is of utility to somebody. Definitely drags the tears out of me.